today by Vaughn from Tiacs, and I thought I'd do a little video for the customers in Tyre and Condamine just to share a little bit about what Tiacs does. And so to start with that, I'm gonna do a little bit of a devil's advocate and talk a little bit about mental health and why I would want to talk to somebody. And the first question I have is I seem to be doing all right. There's nothing really wrong with me, but I do get down sometimes and maybe a little bit anxious. Nothing that a good visit to the pub won't fix. I mean, my dad went through it. He sorted it all out. He didn't see a therapist, so why do I need to talk to somebody? I'll be fine.
Yeah, Eric, I think it's one of those questions that we actually get a lot. But I think in our parents' day, people didn't have the sort of support services that we have now. They didn't have free therapy, so to speak. So they often, quote unquote, toughed it out or bottled things up or, just hardened up, so to speak. So they toughed it out by sort of self-medicating or perhaps maybe overworking to the point of burnout. People that work on the land are known for being hard workers, and I think it's just common where they often just get overworked to the point of just running themselves down to the ground. But I think the good thing about our generation these days is that we have access to a lot of things, but we don't have to, I guess, quote unquote, some of the same fate when, there's support services like Tiacs that offer free and accessible mental health support really through the access of your phone. So, yeah.
I guess with that, I'm somebody who's working a full-time job. I don't have time to sit on a couch somewhere and talk to a counselor. I don't have the money. It's just not something that I can do at the moment. What would you say to that?
I would say I would totally agree. Who really has the time to drive across town or spend hours in a, so to speak, psychologist or therapist's office when you can really have a quick phone call or text session at the time that really suits you? Tiacs, we've designed it to fit around your work and your family commitments. We're open from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So realistically, if your time that best suits you to have a chat is, once you put the kids to bed after you've done a hard day's worth of work and, it's 8 o'clock at night, then there you go. We've got professional mental health counselors that are there on the other side of a text and call line that you can chat to or text, whichever's easier.
So you kind of answered the other question I had, which is where do you go to get this help? Like, where do we have to go? We don't have to go to Toowoomba or Brisbane or.
No, you pretty much wherever you are. Our vision is that you could get access to this support wherever you are. You could be sitting in your ute, you could be sitting at home on your couch, you could be on your own tractor on during a working day. Wherever you really are, we're on a mission to take away all the barriers that there is to accessing professional mental health support, especially to farmers where you don't have to pay money because it's free. You don't have to, there's no barrier to the physical aspect where you don't even have to get into your car, go see a GP, get a mental health care plan. None of that. You really can do all the counselling sessions, and anyone that calls us gets up to 8 free sessions. Being you're that a farmer, a truckie, a tradie, or even if you're just a loved one of, we give up to 8 free sessions to those and give them support. You get the same counsellor for all those sessions, so you don't have to tell your story over and over again. We know how hard that is when you bring up certain things and bring up certain emotions, and if you have to do that over and over, that could be tough. So we make sure that you get the same counsellor that you speak to right from the get-go all the way through all your sessions. And you can have those sessions within 8 weeks. You can have them in 8 months, spaced out to the time and space that suits you.
So after playing devil's advocate a little bit, tell me about the mission of Tiacs and who they are and who you guys are and maybe the why.
So yeah, Tiacs really came from, it was a brainchild, and I can't really talk about Tiacs without talking about a brand called Trade Mutt and the co-founders that made them. We were co-founded by these two blokes. Their name's Dan and Ed. They're both chippies by trade. Dan grew up in Sydney. Ed grew up actually in Longreach, farming himself from a farming family. But by trade, they were two chippies. If I wind the clock back to 2015, 2015 was when they were working on a building site as chippies here in Brisbane. And they received a call that no best mate, I guess, wants to receive, where they lost their best mate to suicide the night before, when they were just talking 3 days beforehand that this mate of theirs just scored a mature age apprentice as a chippy as well. So you can imagine, the elation when they received some really good news that one of their best mates just scored a new gig, a new job that is aligned to what they're doing. But then 3 days forward to that, they lose him to suicide. And when you lose someone in general, there's a lot of emotion that comes with that. But when you lose someone to suicide, especially a loved one or a close mate, there's a lot of emotions, but there's a lot of questions that can come through that and probably don't get ever answered. So that pretty much was the instigator of a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts. Took them about 3 years to really do some soul searching, but they really wanted to change the landscape of the mental health space, especially in that blue collar industry, where I think back then mental health was portrayed as, you've got this guy probably in his 40s in a dark, dim lit room and with his head hunched over and his hands on his head. And it's just portrayed as so dark. But just like physical health, everyone has mental health, and we can have good days and bad days. We can be the happiest of people but still have bad days and struggle from time to time. So with that idea, they wanted to lighten up the space of mental health, so they created Trade Mutt, which is a conversation starting workwear brand. They have it's a workwear brand that has funky, eye-catching colors on it, all to start conversations and making it the invisible, which is mental health, impossible to ignore. Long story short, they bought with $30,000 worth of cashies stored in a protein tub in their pantry. They bought 1,500 work shirts and 2 laptops and started the Trade Mutt brand back in 2018. That really instigated them getting off the tools, because within 5 days they were cash flow positive. Within 3 months they were off the tools. So they were no longer chippies. They were now fashion designers for tradies. But as much as it was all good, the conversations were happening. Fast forward 2 years, I think there was just something missing. The missing link there was, when someone goes through some tough stuff, when you're talking to a mate, you're having good conversations, but you just need that extra further support. When you need a deeper conversation, they say, well, who do we lean on to? That's when they launched Tiacs, which is an acronym for This is a Conversation Starter. Tiacs is a professional mental health counselling support service for farmers, truckies, tradies, anyone in the blue-collar industry, as well as those who care about them, so their loved ones. It's completely free. It's completely confidential. We have all of our, we employ a team of mental health counsellors who've all done either a master's in social work or counselling or psychology. And they're on the other line of this text and call line. So if you call or text Tiacs, which the number is 04 888 469 88, you will get in contact with a professional mental health counselor. And as I said, this support service is available to any farmer, any truckie, any tradie, anyone in the blue collar industry, especially those in rural and remote areas where access to support really is very, very limited. So yeah, kind of a long story of it all, but just from these two tradies, Dan and Ed, they launched a conversation starting workwear called Trademark, but also a support service.
Thanks very much
Thank
for
you,
that.
Eric.